Hello, my name is Caeser Pink.
Let your mama down. Let your mama down. Let your mama down. Baby, please.
Today we're going to do something a little different. I'm going to start a series where I talk about and tell stories about my own music. I was inspired to do this by my friend Ed Kennep, who is doing a similar thing, and I find it very interesting. Now, I've been in and out of recording studios my whole life, and most of the time I was never happy with the results. Live performance is a different thing, but in the studio, particularly with the Imperial Orgy, it was very hard to capture what we were doing live on a recording. But 2 years ago, I released an album, A Whole New Way of Making It Happen. It's certainly not perfect, but it's the first recording I've ever done where I felt like this captures what I'm trying to do, and this is a statement that I can stand behind. Now, unfortunately, when this album was released to press and public, I feel like people might have listened to it, but they never really heard it. Certainly, the press reviews were very shallow and didn't seem to understand it at all. So I wanted to go back and talk about this album song by song, where the ideas came from, what influences there were, perhaps what I was trying to say. The title of the album, A Whole New Way of Making It Happen, was partially inspired by Sly and the Family Stone. Their first album was called A Whole New Thing. Now, Sly and the Family Stone were influential on the original concept of the Imperial Orgy. Both Sly and the Family Stone and Prince and the Revolution. Now, the reason for that is, one of the reasons is because it was always meant to be very culturally diverse. Both of those groups had people from different ethnic and racial backgrounds. It had male and female in. And when the Sly and the Family Stone came out, this was a big thing. It was a new thing, and it made a statement. Just when you looked at them, you knew it was making a statement about how we think the world should be. And particularly Sly and the Family Stone, their music, it had a social message, but it was also celebratory and fun. And these are things that I always wanted Caeser Pink and the Imperial Orgy to be. Now, when we started, we were in a place where it was 99.7% white, so it was hard to get a diverse group of musicians together. We always had females in the group, but as time went on and we got out of our small town, we were able to find musicians of all kinds. We did a performance not too long ago with some new band members, and I think it was the most diverse we ever had. We had a couple white guys on drums and guitar. The bass player was from Syria. I hope he hasn't been caught up in Trump's lunacy. The keyboard player was from South America. The three background singers were African American females. We had a Latino in the mix. So that made me very happy. It was a really great group of musicians, both culturally and especially musically. Now, before we get talking about the music, I'd like to talk about the cover some. And I do feel like the cover helps sell the concept or explain the concept of the album. Now, down here at the bottom, you'll see there's a boy in a dunce cap, and he's watching a wall of video screens. Now this comes from one of the songs in the album called "This Is the Way They Keep You Dumb," and it's about how the American media dumbs down the culture. And it has all kinds of things, everything from beer commercials to news pundits, reality TV, sitcoms, music videos, all the stuff that we find in American culture. Now another song is called "The Prescription." You'll see there's a hands here handing a bunch of pills. That song is about prescription drug addiction. And then there's a section here, which is the planet Earth. And there's a guy here walking around it. He's a businessman zombie. And instead of having a carrot on a stick, he has a dollar bill on a stick, which he is endlessly following, trying to get more of. Now that song is called "Dayglow, Font Fest, White Trash, Rubber Rag." And that song has various storylines in it. Another has to do with aliens coming to Earth and being so appalled by humanity that they decide to blow it up. So on the other side of the Earth, you see the spaceship shooting some kind of weapon and blowing up the Earth. Now another piece of imagery is there's a guy over here with a television on his head. Now ever since I was a kid, like very young, I appreciated both how much good can be done through mass media, but also how much evil can be done. Especially today, it's heavily used as a brainwashing tool. But more than that, just, mindless entertainment also has a political message, a cultural message, and I really believe that mass media controls our beliefs and values so much. And another part of that image is over here you have the electric guitar, which is shooting beams of lightning into the guy with the television head. And to me that symbolizes that music can be a medium with which we can get people to think and free them from the mass media brainwash. Now the other elements here are a couple skeleton guys, one playing a sax. I'm not sure where they came from. I'm not really a Deadhead or a fan of the Grateful Dead that much, but perhaps it's a reference to them and their 60s connotations. Now this is the back panel of the album, and I've always liked mandalas, and this looks like a mandala, but it also looks like it could be some kind of church window. So I like that to represent the spiritual side of the album. And I edited this image so that there are different images of all the players in the Imperial Orgy Band. How does this work? It's a 3-panel album. Then the center back panel is mainly some group shots. Now this album was dedicated to Jen Oda. Jen Oda was a background singer, dancer with the Imperial Orgy for a couple of years. A wonderful, free-spirited woman. And what year was it? In 2015, she was murdered by her husband, who she was trying to divorce. Her personal history, she grew up part of her childhood in Brazil, although I think she went to school in Hershey, Pennsylvania, but she was a Canadian citizen. She came to the U.S. to to go to college and try to make it as an actress. And her visa was up, and she didn't want to go back to Canada. She wanted to stay here and pursue a career. So she ended up marrying a guy. It was a quick marriage, and I think a lot of it had to do with being able to stay in the United States. Now, this guy was an actor too. He was a good-looking guy. And I remember she showed a picture of him to my wife, and my wife commented how good his looks were, and she said, "Yes, I'm a lucky girl." Now, the two of them moved to California. He became quite abusive, and she moved out, wanted to get a divorce, and instead of mailing the divorce papers, she brought them personally for him to sign. And when she got out of a car, he shot her down in the streets and then killed himself. And then apparently the guy's son, who was also the same kind of abusive personality, came, found them dead, and stole the money out of Jen's purse. Crazy, heartbreaking story. Anyways, we dedicated this album to her. Now, the inside of the album is all lyrics and imagery that is somehow related to the individual songs. And it's also nice colored vinyl. It's a 2-album set. One is yellow and one is red.